sun comes up on America, across open fields, small towns, and city streets, a new day begins. And here, we rise with it. This is where hard work meets headlines, where truth matters, and America wakes up informed.
An interesting week.
They all are.
This is your country. This is your morning. This is Daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. America, let's do it together.
Love you, Ivy.
Love you too.
And it starts right now.
All right, let's kick this thing right square in the backside and get rolling. Good morning to you. We are fighting for you from the foxhole freedom every single day. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, USAID funds get suspended, and suddenly 7 countries in Central and South America have voted in so-called far-right candidates to lead their nations and get rid of socialism. The Trump effect is very real in the Western Hemisphere. Number two, a deal is reached on the critical point of no nuclear weapons for Iran. At least that's what we're being told. And J.D. Vance is saying that. And that's what happened. Number three, here we go. We're going to set the record straight again. Let me work on this a bit more today. I need to set the record straight on so many points, but this one is one I haven't talked about yet. On her final day as Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard ripped the lid off what the swamp creatures in Washington never wanted you to know and never wanted to see the light of day. She declassified hundreds of pages of documents that expose Anthony Fauci's central role in the greatest public health disaster and cover-up in modern American history. Today, I'm here to tell you the truth about it. While the fake news media spent years worshiping this guy Fauci like a rock star, and the Biden regime protected him at every turn, real patriots, President Trump, Senator Rand Paul, Congressman Jim Comer, and millions of you watching knew something was deeply rotten. It was clear. These files prove it. Fauci funded dangerous gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab in China with your tax dollars, shaped the intelligence community's conclusions to protect himself, lied under oath to Congress, intimidated whistleblowers, and then panicked and begged for a pardon. This wasn't incompetence. This was a deep state playbook straight out of the swamp. Let's walk through a few of the explosive findings. First, Fauci's extraordinary influence over the intelligence community. This guy had a massive conflict of interest. His own NIAID had funneled millions of dollars to the Wuhan Institute of Virology for bat coronavirus research. Yet he still inserted himself into the IC's assessments, steering them hard toward the natural origin fairy tale. He pushed the authors of that infamous proximal origin paper and directed briefings to his favorite experts. Listen to Director Gabbard lay it out on Fauci's 3 roles in this whole mess.
Truth. Dr. Fauci's close relationships with the intelligence community enabled him to assume 3 key roles that shield him from scrutiny. First, Dr. Fauci funded dangerous gain-of-function coronavirus research linked to Big Pharma and their pursuit of universal vaccines worth trillions of dollars. Second, Dr. Fauci was the behind-the-scenes advisor who, alongside his hand-picked so-called experts, pushed the intelligence community to endorse a natural animal origin to hide his dangerous gain-of-function research that he funded using taxpayer dollars, all of this in a deliberate attempt to cover up the truth and shift the blame and attention away from Fauci's own actions. Third, Dr. Fauci became the nation's pandemic pundit, and he publicly pushed lies, disinformation, and censorship using every platform available.
Lies, disinformation, and censorship. He wasn't some neutral scientist giving advice. He was the puppet master protecting the empire. And remember his 2024 testimony under oath? He denied discussing viral research with the intelligence community and downplayed his role as a passive receiver of benign briefings. Here's part of that testimony.
Before, during, or after the COVID-19 pandemic, did you speak to the FBI, CIA, DIA, or any U.S. intelligence agency concerning viral research of any kind?
Again, I say that at the time that there was concern about the fact that al-Qaeda may have been using or potentially using bioweapons, we had discussions with intelligence agencies about that possibility.
But not as related to, say, COVID-19.
Not to my knowledge about COVID. But let me just make sure we get the facts. After the investigations began about COVID, I was briefed by intelligence agencies about possibilities of there being activities going on in different laboratories. I was briefed by intelligence agencies.
Thank you.
He looked Congress straight in the eye and lied while the country was still reeling. Classic deep state move. Second explosive finding, the gain-of-function funding and the suppressed lab leak evidence. The documents confirm Fauci's agency sent millions to EcoHealth Alliance straight to Wuhan for risky research that made coronaviruses more dangerous to people. Z Division experts at Lawrence Livermore Labs warned that the lab had all the ingredients for an accidental release, including a precursor virus genetically close enough and sick researchers at Wuhan in the fall of 2019. Ralph Barrick, who collaborated with the Wuhan lab, advised the intelligence community multiple times despite the glaring conflicts, with the stamp of approval from Dr. Fauci. Dr. Peter McCullough, friend of this program, who's been censored for exposing the truths about the pandemic, boils Fauci's crimes down to these 2 points.
The world understands that Fauci has committed 2 crimes. One is fraudulent concealment. He intentionally concealed the origins of SARS-CoV-2 from his funded projects in Wuhan. It's fraudulent concealment. If we would have known what the story was originally, I think we could have done better in our pandemic response. And the second major crime I think he committed is mass negligent homicide by 2 mechanisms. 2 mechanisms. First, he worked to suppress our efforts at publishing and promulgating early treatment protocols, which worked to get people through the illness. And secondly, he relentlessly promoted unsafe vaccines that took hundreds of thousands of American lives and millions of lives worldwide. It's been the greatest biological catastrophe mankind has ever seen. And largely, Fauci is responsible for orchestrating this on the world.
The world does understand now, thanks to Tulsi Gabbard. Fauci's NIH money helped light the fuse on this pandemic in a Chinese communist lab. Then he spent years gaslighting every American that it was just some wet market bat soup. American blood is on his hands. So what comes next? Because we want is accountability. And Congressman James Comer says that the Congress has already done its part. The ball is in the Justice Department's court. Here's what he says.
And we already have criminal referrals sitting on the desk at the Department of Justice. The Senate did the same. The Senate Homeland Security also has criminal referrals dating back a year and a half on Dr. Fauci. We also, my committee, the Oversight Committee, did an investigation of the pardon that Joe Biden gave, all the pardons. And we concluded that Joe Biden wasn't at the table. There were no meetings with Joe Biden. The Constitution's clear. The president has sole authority to grant pardons, but there's no evidence that at the time that President Biden was even involved in the pardon process. They were signed by the auto pen, but there's no evidence. And that was based on all the depositions we had with all the key people in the White House during the Biden administration. There's no evidence Joe Biden participated in the decision-making of the pardon process. So there's more than enough evidence, and what Tulsi did is outstanding. It provides even more evidence for the Department of Justice to begin taking steps to hold Dr. Fauci accountable.
He must be held accountable for all of it. More after this. All right, so Anthony Fauci needs to be held accountable for all of it, including the lies, the intimidation, the media protection racket, and the vaccine arrogance, and his arrogance. Gabbard provided several examples of the kind of intimidation and blacklisting that whistleblowers faced. Here she is.
The intelligence analysts who dared to challenge Dr. Fauci's COVID origin conclusions faced threats of retaliation, marginalization, and many suffered career setbacks. For example, a contractor was terminated just days after coming forward to ODNI as a whistleblower. Another example, those who advocated for the lab leak hypothesis or expressed dissenting views were reminded by their managers that leadership would determine which analysts would be promoted and which would not. The message was clear: go along or be punished. Senior leaders also sought to undermine whistleblowers by removing anonymity, which is required in the whistleblower process, as they made their complaints, and also insisting that their managers or attorneys be present during ODNI meetings where these whistleblowers were coming forward with their testimony, obviously creating an atmosphere of intimidation.
An atmosphere of intimidation. They didn't just bury the truth. They went after the brave Americans, trying to tell the American people, hey, here's what's going on. And when the walls started to close in, Fauci went running for a pardon. We know that for a fact. And the auto pen delivered. Joe Biden, of course, had no idea what was signed or not signed. The U.S. pardon attorney has confirmed that Fauci's team was begging the Biden administration for one during Biden's last days. Here it is.
Most importantly, you can see, and these are email exchanges where Dr. Fauci's lawyer is saying, will there be pardons for Fauci? And then in the morning of January 20th, and just in time for the change of the presidency, Fauci got his pardon. And you have to accept, under American law, the one thing the Supreme Court has said is you have to accept the pardon. So Fauci immediately had his lawyer say, I accept the pardon, and sent that in. So they were very aware that they needed that, and they wanted it.
Yeah. Guilty men don't beg for get-out-of-jail-free cards unless they know they're in trouble. It's time for the Justice Department to take a look at those pardons, too. Because Comer's team has already investigated the validity of those as well, and Comer has said that they don't believe Biden was even a part of the process. He wasn't even in the room, mentally or physically. But it gets worse. While he was lying and covering up, Fauci was arrogantly dismissing concerns and pushing vaccines like his life depended on it. And that was exposed with a leaked audio clip at a previous committee hearing. Listen to this.
I have to say that I don't see a big solution other than some sort of mandatory vaccination. I know federal officials don't like to use that term.
Once people feel empowered and protected legally, you were going to have schools, universities, and colleges are going to say, you want to come to this college, buddy? You're going to get vaccinated. Lady, you're going to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Big corporations like Amazon and Facebook and all of those others are going to say, you want to work for us, you get vaccinated. And it's been proven that when you make it difficult for people in their lives, they lose their ideological bullshit and they get vaccinated.
There it is, the condescending arrogance while he's playing God with your health, your job, your kids' education, and your future. And who enabled the whole circus? The corporate media, acting as Fauci's personal PR term. They painted him as the Messiah while he destroyed the lives of millions of Americans. Here's just a clip, an example. Listen.
The single most respected voice in the pandemic, it's Dr. Anthony Fauci.
The man who's become known as America's doctor.
The nation's top infectious disease expert, Anthony Fauci.
You are seen to many as a superhero.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, American hero and New York Yankee fan.
You've done so much for this country in terms of this crisis, so I really appreciate your insight.
Who better to give us answers that we can trust than Dr. Anthony Fauci?
The perfect person to answer our questions today. Joining us now, Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, appreciate your candor.
Dr. Fauci, appreciate the candor.
We appreciate your service to this country.
We appreciate your service.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service.
Greatly appreciate your service to America.
Thank you for your 37 years of service, I believe, to 7 presidents, and thank you for your work over the past year.
The great news is you're sticking around in the Biden administration. We are so grateful to you, Dr. Fauci, for everything you do.
Thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you very much for everything that you do.
Thanks so much for the work that you do.
Man, it's like they had talking points. Superhero, American hero, thank you for your service, please. And you already know there's a lot more where that came from. I could do that for hours. Day after day, fawning coverage while real doctors and scientists were censored, deplatformed, and destroyed. This was a full spectrum operation. Fauci, the IC, the media, all working in concert to shield themselves. The human cost of this betrayal is staggering. Millions dead worldwide, small businesses destroyed, children isolated and set back years in education, families torn apart, and trusted institutions destroyed forever. This wasn't just a lab accident they covered up. It was a coordinated effort that weaponized fear against the American people to expand control and protect the guilty. Tulsi Gabbard deserves credit for delivering this transparency on her way out the door. Jim Comer, Rand Paul, President Trump warned us from the beginning. The patriots were right. The so-called experts and their mouthpieces were wrong, dangerously, catastrophically wrong. This is why we fight. This is why we demand America First leadership that drains the swamp instead of swimming in it. No more blank checks to unaccountable bureaucrats. No more blind trust in public health authorities who lie and cover for each other. Full accountability now. Follow the criminal referrals. Make sure nothing like this ever happens again. The Fauci files don't lie, but Fauci did repeatedly under oath while the country suffered. With President Trump back in charge and warriors like Tulsi Gabbard exposing the rot, the deep state era is going to end. Justice is going to come for the American people. We will get our day. Remain vigilant, my friends. Stay steadfast. And that's the monologue. Good morning. I'll be right back. All right, well, here's your daily update on the price of oil. It's down to $73 a barrel. And yet gas went down, but just half a cent. Remarkable, isn't it? Oil has come down. It peaked at about $120 a barrel during this Iran issue. It's now back to $73 and falling. It could be in the 60s in the next few days.
Gas was $4.30 this morning.
Makes no sense.
Yeah, it went up like 40 cents yesterday. I saw it at $3.86 in the morning and $4.29 in the afternoon.
Makes no sense. The national average is now $3.92. Continues
Absolutely
to fall.
insane.
Makes no sense whatever, boys. I'm sorry to tell you. I mean, maybe that refinery in Indiana is still having trouble. For those in the Midwest, that's been a problem recently. But around the country, the price of gasoline continues to fall. And, you know, places like Indiana's at $3.32. So it's $1 a gallon less than what you guys are getting stuck for. Doesn't make any sense at all. except that somebody's making a lot of money and it's not you. Let me tell you about something people keep asking me about, the QE, infrared facial mask. Red infrared light therapy you can use at home to help support healthier-looking skin, boost collagen, and soften the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. Instead of expensive spa treatments, you just wear the mask for a few minutes a day. It's comfortable, easy to use, and fits right into your routine. It's the same mask that Ivy uses pretty much every day. People love the results, so does she. So skip the costly spa visits. Go to QEstrong.com. Use the promo code Gruber. You're going to get the masks for under $200. And I'm getting a bunch of emails from you guys, which I appreciate, saying, hey, we love it. Why wouldn't you? If I could look as good as Ivy, I'd wear it more. I do wear it some. But she wears it every day. She's just better about those things. She has the discipline. If you have the same thing and you can do it sometimes, you're going to feel better. You're going to look better. You're going to be glad you did this. QEstrong.com. Promo code Gruber. Get that mask for under $200. All right, we got a lot to talk about today. Coming up, Brian Panebecker. He's the guy, the General Motors guy, the auto worker that appeared on stage with Donald Trump many times. You'll know him when you see him. He's got a brand new book out. We're going to talk about that after the break. An American Hero coming up. All right, my next guest you'll probably recognize because he was a guy that Donald Trump looked at and said, I like that guy. you know how he would do that at rallies and so forth, right? Called him up on stage, and then after that, they became friends. And he was on stage a lot. Brian Pannebecker, 36-year auto worker with Ford and Chrysler, founded Auto Workers for Trump, and still lives in Macomb County, Michigan, because he's from the greatest state in America, Michigan. If we could just get good leadership here, we'd all be thrilled. Brian, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
Nice to see you, my friend. Tell the story about how you first ended up on stage, because you ended up on stage a bunch. You were at rallies. If I'm not mistaken, you were in the Oval Office for some events and different things. I mean, you literally became friends with the president, but how did it start?
Originally, it started out in Novi, Steve. I was working for State Senator Jack Brandenburg here in Macomb County. And when Trump hired his state campaign director, when he was not president yet, in 2016, he hired a guy named Scott Hagerstrom. And I happened to know Scott through my work with Senator Brandenburg. So when Trump announced he was going to do a rally in Novi, I asked Scott if he could get me backstage to get a picture taken with him. Long story short, he pulled some strings because he had to get it cleared through the national campaign, but he did. And when it was my turn to get my picture taken, Trump turned to face me, and as I was stepping up to him, I said, "Mr. Trump, we have the keys to the White House waiting for you in Macomb County." And he kind of laughed and said, "Oh, yeah, how's that?" And I said, "Well, Macomb County is the home of the Reagan Democrats." I said, "If you come to Macomb County and ask for their support and you get it, you might win Macomb County big enough to carry the whole state of Michigan." I said, "Mr. Trump, if you win Michigan, we both know what that means. You win the White House."
You know, and it's interesting, Brian, because he and I, when he was first on the program here back in 2016, we had the same conversations. If you win Michigan, you win. I still feel the same way about elections. In the midterms, I feel the same way. If you do well in Michigan, you do well across the country. It really has become the bellwether in America in 2026. And you know that. So let me ask you something, because I keep hearing all these things about how, well, I voted for Trump, but I'm not going to vote for him again, you know, this and that, and I'm angry. I don't know these people. I don't know people who are like, man, I am just so mad at Trump. I don't know anybody like that. Yeah, they're kind of disappointed because gas prices went up for a while. They're all coming down now, at least in most places except Michigan. He sealed the border. We haven't had an illegal alien across the border in 13 months. The economy, I mean, you look how the economy is doing. Jobs are available. There's some things, obviously, there's always work to be done. But I don't know these people. Do you mix with a lot of different folks? Do you know people that voted for Trump and said, I wouldn't vote for him again? Any of that?
No, I would say 98, 99% of the people that I know that voted for him are still strong supporters. Now, I have to caveat that a little bit. There are certain issues that they may not agree 100% with him on. Like, for example, the Iran war, they feel like he's a little too eager to make a deal with the Iranians, and it's too factionalized over there. They feel like, you know, some people have expressed this to me. He should have kept the pressure on another week or two militarily while they were in there, making strikes. Sure. So issues like that. But all in all, people are still 100% on board with him.
Right. All right. So Macomb County this year, obviously we have some big congressional races in Michigan. We have an open seat for governor, an open seat for the United States Senate, and the Democrats have put up the worst slate of candidates I've ever seen to run for U.S. Senate. But Abdul El Sayed is leading in the polling here. But I can't be shocked when I see people like Graham Plattner win in Maine to get the nomination from the Democrats. Anything's possible with this party now, isn't it?
Yeah, Steve, I'll never figure it out. The Democrat candidates continue to get worse and worse. But Michigan has a real bad history of getting the Republicans out to vote in the midterms. So we need to nominate some good candidates, and everybody needs to do the too big to rig 10X, get 10 of your friends out to vote, remind everybody that it's an election year. And for all intents and purposes, Steve, Trump is on the ballot again.
He really is. You're right about that. I think that you and I and other voices need to continue to tell him, Mr. President, Michigan is key to your success in November. He needs to come here and do a couple of rallies with candidates, and I'm sure he will as we get closer to the election because he knows, and he is going out on the road some. We need to make sure he gets here.
Absolutely. That's part of the reason I wrote this book, Steve.
Yep.
I want to take it into tough congressional districts like Tom Barrett's in Michigan 7, right here in Michigan's 10th. I'm going to be doing book signings, trying to emphasize that fact, energize people, get them out to vote, remind them that it's an election year, and that if we lose the majority in Congress, Trump will be impeached again for what will it be, the
I've
third
lost
time,
count.
fourth
Who
time? I
knows?
lost
The
track.
25th time, right? That's all they're going to do. The book is Blue Collar Conservative, From Reagan to Trump. It's the untold story of auto workers who helped change America. And you did in Macomb County with Ronald Reagan. And you did in Macomb County with Donald Trump. Not once, but 3 times, if you want to know the truth. I mean, that's pretty clear now. Nobody believes Joe Biden got 81 million votes. But here's my concern for the auto industry. If I'm reading this correctly, the American automakers, Chrysler, Ford, and GM, only control 36% of the market here in the United States now. 36%. That's pretty frightening, Brian.
It's been going down for decades, Steve, but the argument we've been making, it's the same argument we make with robotics and technology, reducing the number of automotive jobs. If there are automotive jobs in companies that are selling vehicles here in the United States, we want the jobs to be here in the United States. So whether it's reduced due to technology, whether it's a foreign company, we need those jobs here in America. We don't need them shipped in from Japan.
Well, let me ask you this.
Korea.
What about those tariffs? What if there were more tariffs on Chinese vehicles or Japanese vehicles or German vehicles? I would think that the auto workers would support those sorts of tariffs from the president.
100%. We were just in the Oval Office. I took 15 UAW members with me in January, and we thanked President Trump for the tariffs. We support tariffs 100%. Now, as far as China goes, there just has to be a complete ban on China selling automobiles here in the United States.
Yeah.
We've had a protective tariff on pickup trucks, excuse me, but we needed to extend to any Chinese vehicle.
Brian, always good to see you. I hope the book works out. Blue Collar Conservative, From Reagan to Trump, the untold story of auto workers who helped change America. Brian, you're a good man. Always like talking to you, my friend. Thank you.
Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble have it, and I'm doing book signings here in the Metro Detroit area. So keep the radar up for online. I'll be announcing them throughout the summer.
Brian Pannebecker. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Steve.
Appreciate it. Something else that's American-made is my dog food from GreatLakesPetFood.com. We went looking, Ivy and I did, for American-made pet food because we had heard so many horror stories about Chinese dog food killing people's pets. So we found one. We found one in West Michigan. GreatLakesPetFood.com. Real turkey, chicken, pork, real dog food, real good. We fed our dogs this dog food for years. You'll be glad you did this. GreatLakesPetFood.com. No special, no discount, just the best dog food you're ever going to feed your dog. GreatLakesPetFood.com. Check it out today. You'll be glad you did. And I'll be right back. All right, so the biggest driver of inflation is energy oftentimes, right? The price of energy dictates where we are inflation-wise. And in oil today, West Texas Intermediate, 73.5. Brent crude at 77.65 cents. It's as cheap as it's been since February. And yet gas overnight in Michigan went way up. Doesn't make any sense. Gas prices around the country continue to fall. $3.92 now, the national average. And it should continue to go down. But it still makes me wonder what happens with the Fed. Alan Greenspan, as I told you yesterday, former Fed chair, died at the age of 100. And Kevin Warsh is there now, but nothing changed. It was status quo at the meeting here last week. And so I want to bring in Nick Hopwood of, our main guy when it comes to understanding the economy, peak wealth management. Nick, good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
All right, a lot to consider here because the Fed, apparently, the indications are that they're going to raise rates before the end of the year. You know, a couple of months ago, they thought the rates would go down. Where are we with the Fed? Because I'm looking at these energy prices. They're a big driver of inflation, and we had a little tick up in inflation here the last couple of months, of course. But things should be getting better. Things should be relaxing. What's the story?
Well, last week, as you mentioned, was Kevin Warsh's first meeting as Fed chair. And out of 18 governors who voted, 9 saw rates higher by the end of the year. 8 governors see no change, and only 1 sees rate cuts. So coming into this year, we expected multiple rate cuts, 2 or 3. Some people were calling for even 4. Now here we are in late June, and we're potentially looking at higher rates. So my guess is lower rates are off the table, but I would also put my money on rates holding steady. It just seems like to be hiking rates at this moment would be a little premature. And like you said, inflation is higher. We've gone from 2 to 3 and now at 4.2% on the last run rate. And also jobs are strong. We've had 172, 179, 214 jobs over the last 3 months. So basically, the Fed is looking at higher inflation and strong jobs. So it makes sense, the narrative of higher rates. I would just not be betting on rates getting raised anytime soon.
Well, and we look at the market. We had a couple of weeks back where we had a couple of rough days on Wall Street. But overall for the year, Wall Street is rocking. The Dow got above 52,000 a couple different times. The NASDAQ at 26,000. The S&P at 7,500. I mean, these are good numbers. People are making money if you're retired or invested in the markets at all, right?
Yeah, the people who own assets are feeling very good about their portfolios, the real estate, et cetera. And you mentioned Alan Greenspan, and he was Fed chair from 1987 to 2006. He oversaw the bubble of '99, the internet tech bubble, and he had the famous quote of irrational exuberance. And so it's interesting that now today, overnight in South Korea, we have the South Korean index down 11%. Japan is down 5%. Futures here in the U.S. are down. And so it's interesting, just on the heels of his passing, that we have a little bit of a technical blow up here in South Korea. And remember, that index is up over 100% in the last year. And it's over 50% semiconductors. So it reminds me of that '99 boom here in the U.S.
Well, we'll see how the futures do here today, but you don't see a big correction at this point.
Well, remember, we always talk about a 10% correction is the norm. And we pretty much had that in March. But it doesn't mean that we won't have another. But I just remind you, ask yourself, what is your plan going to be when the next correction comes?
Yeah, that's always it. You need a plan. You can't just go in blithely and just say, well, everything will be fine. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. But you need to be prepared for that. And these things happen. They're very cyclical in my experience. I want to ask you about something else here because SpaceX went public, right? And Elon Musk became the first on-paper trillionaire, I guess, from what I read. But SpaceX, as these IPOs go, these initial public offerings, you get this big spike at the beginning, and then they tend to just relax and sometimes come way below. The initial number was supposed to be 135. It got above 150. Where are we today?
Yes, Steve, it came public at 135, but if you were watching in the moments that it started trading, the first trade was at 150, and then, that was for only one moment. So basically, most people were paying over 160, and as of a couple days ago, it got up to 225. Well, here's your chance. If you were kicking yourself for missing it, this is your chance to buy it under 150 on the market right now. This is not a recommendation, but if you were kicking yourself, now's your chance. But I will also remind you that most of these big IPOs, they have a 50% drawdown from the high point in the first year. And right now we're looking at about a 33% drawdown for SpaceX. So there could be more pain to come. So I've just advised you to be patient.
So you wouldn't be surprised then if it went down to 125 or something like that. Would not surprise you.
It wouldn't. And at some point it becomes an opportunity.
Well, at some point it does. Right now, from what I'm looking at, 154.60. But that was a pretty rough day when the market closed. It was down significantly. Anyhow, mid-year checkup, we got about 20 seconds. Things are pretty decent overall. Could be a correction of some sort, but overall, you feel pretty bullish about things, don't you?
I do, and this is, we're here in late June. Do your mid-year checkup. Look at your year-to-date gains. Make sure you're on track to max out your 401. Update your retirement projections. Monitor your spending. Update your net worth statement. Double-check your beneficiaries. That's always something that can be surprising.
Yeah. PeakWM.com if you want to speak to Nick, get a second opinion. He'll give you a free Social Security analysis when you name drop me, which is cool. Thank you, Nick, for that. PeakWM.com, PeakWM.com. Nick, I appreciate you. You're always a calm voice no matter what's going on, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Greatly appreciate it. There you have it. Peak Wealth Management. Nick's been doing well for a long time. He can do well for you. PeakWM.com. I'll be right back after this. You know, I don't know what kind of person it takes to be so hateful that you would try to destroy the reflecting pool that sits between the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial. But apparently that's what's happened. People have been arrested. There's a gash, a slash might be a better word for it, where the liner was cut intentionally. It seems pretty obvious that chemicals were put into the pool that were not supposed to be there. Things like phosphate, fertilizer, so that algae would grow. Just to embarrass Donald Trump, you will wreck a multi-million-dollar centerpiece of America. Just to embarrass Donald Trump. I mean, what kind of a sick individual does that, honestly? It's time for our 250th anniversary and super centennial, and people attack the reflecting pool. That's some sort of that is some sort of sick, huh? Honestly. We'll keep you updated. They say it has to be drained again and fixed now because people destroyed it intentionally. Not kids. Not kids. This is not some juvenile, a prank. Adults did this with forethought, malice of forethought, anyhow. A groundbreaking new study shows there is a safe and inexpensive potential cancer treatment. It's a drug that many of you know. It's ivermectin. A new study shows that individuals who took ivermectin, the parasite-fighting medication that gained fame during COVID, along with the drug mebendazole, they saw remarkable results fighting cancer. It's incredibly promising, these results, and have some wondering, like me, where can I obtain U.S.-made ivermectin and mebendazole? Well, that's easy. That's where the wellness company comes in. You see and hear from their doctors here every week. They are the gold standard for keeping you and your family safe and healthy. The wellness company is making 100% American-made ivermectin and mebendazole available to my audience at an incredibly affordable price. So say no to Big Pharma's greed, no to Big Pharma's poison. Say yes to a company that you can trust to bring you safe, affordable, and effective treatments. If you or someone you love is interested in trying ivermectin and mebendazole, I urge you to go to twc.health/Gruber. twc.health/Gruber. You're going to save at least 10%. You'll be glad you did. Coming up after the break, Sunshine will enter the studio. Her name is Ivy. She'll be here after the top of the hour, right here on Daybreak.
back at Dodger Stadium. And yeah, Betts has that ball in his glove, and this fan literally tries to take his glove off. Pries the ball.
America's awake, and we're just getting started. The headlines that matter, the stories they won't tell you, and the voices fighting to be heard. This is your country, your morning, your daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. A new hour starts right now on Real America's Voice.
Yes, it does. And welcome to Glad to have you along for the conversation. Appreciate you being here as we fight for you from the foxhole of freedom every single day. That's right. We're here trying to get the truth to you as best we can. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, RFK Jr. is headed out on the road ahead of the midterms because he's popular with moderates and independents. So he is carrying a torch across America for the Trump administration and the Republican candidates. Number two, Ilhan Omar has gone from being worth millions of dollars to apparently being broke. She's blaming it on accounting errors. Let's just say that doesn't pass the smell test. And number three, a massive study. I want to share something with you today. A massive study over decades millions of data points, and it completely vindicates me on the climate change hoax. Weather's not getting more extreme. The planet is not getting hotter. We're not on fire. Surprising. Ivy's here. Ivy, good morning.
Good morning.
I've been saying this forever because they keep saying, well, and I pointed this out yesterday about tornadoes and so forth.
Yeah.
We don't have more tornadoes than we did in the 1970s. We don't have more hurricanes than we did in the 1950s. You look at the worst weather disasters in American history, most of them are from 1900. The hottest decade was the 1930s.
Yeah.
And yet they keep trying to sell us, oh, we're dying, we have to stop using cars. I mean, the hysteria is really something, isn't it?
Well, I mean, we all know, at least you and I and those listening here, that the climate hoax is just for power and control.
Right.
Okay. And honestly, it's probably most pushed by foreign actors like
Sure
China
is.
and Russia who want to be dominant in the world. And what better way to do that than to have America and the European countries
be weak,
go green,
yeah,
and then they have no energy reliance. We have no energy reliance,
yeah,
and nobody can afford anything because the electricity is ridiculously high. So
Correct.
this study, I don't know if you know like the particulars, but this is a 2026 peer-reviewed study by Dr. John R. Christie. It was published in the Theoretical and Applied Climatology, titled "Declines in Hot and Cold Daily Temperature Extremes in the Counter Minimus
So
U.S."
I want to focus on something
Hold
you
on.
just said there. You said something really important. Declines in both extreme heat and extreme cold. Go on.
That's right. Between the period of 1899 to 2025.
Yeah.
So I believe you have a bite here if you want to go into that.
I do. Here's a 43-second education of what's true about climate. Listen.
New study of U.S. temperatures from 1899 to 2025 uses 40 million daily records across 1,211 stations, and it finds extremes have declined. The most intense heat remains in the 1930s. In 1936, about 22% of stations recorded all-time highs. No modern year comes close. Heat waves peak between 1930 and 1944, then drop and only partly recover. The long-term trend is flat to declining. Cold extremes also decline, but mostly at night. This is largely a product of urbanization over the decades, which traps heat and so lifts overnight lows. Still, overall, the extreme temperature burden is down about 30%. US temperatures are less extreme today, not more.
There you go.
Yeah, 40 million data points. Not a few points here and there, not cherry-picked by, some climate activist or Al Gore or any of these fools.
Yep, more than 40 million daily temperature observations between 1,211 weather stations across the United States. And then, as we mentioned multiple times here, the temperature records were spanning between 1899 and 2025, and those focused on daily temperature extremes, heat waves, cold waves, and record highs and lows. And as she points out in the video, the worst heat remains concentrated in the 1930s.
It was the Dust Bowl years.
And exactly. The study found that the most intense nationwide heat events occurred during the Dust Bowl era, particularly between 1925 and 1954, with the 1930s standing out as the hottest period for extreme heat measures.
Right. So
you know what the difference is today, Steve?
Go ahead.
Everybody has a cell phone, and any time of and we have every TV, and you can watch TV on your phone. You can watch TV at home. We have a lot more news, and we have people recording things all the time, and
people have very short lifespans.
It's the worst of the worst,
Relatively speaking, your
unprecedented
lifespan.
weather.
Yeah. It's never been this hot. Oh, it's the coldest I've ever felt. So when I first began really digging into this more than 10 years ago, when I'm like, wait a second here, this doesn't even make sense. I got access to weather records from Michigan State University, and I started looking at them. It was these universities have done a great job for decades tracking. Here's the daily high, daily low, precipitation, wind, all of that. They keep records of all of it. And this is some of the 40 million data points, I think. And when you look at that, you're like, wait a second. I mean, I can tell you right now, there has not been an F5 tornado in the state of Michigan where you and I live since 1973. Yeah. The worst tornado decade in Michigan and bad around the country at the same time, the 1950s. The 1970s. For hurricanes, it was the 1950s.
Right.
When you had a lot of hurricanes. I mean, hurricane season last year, we didn't have a single hurricane make landfall in America.
Yeah.
That's not common. That's pretty rare. But do the climate, fools, no hurricanes, it must be. No, they just try to find some reason to, it's the hottest year. And how many years in a row, Ivy? Honestly, it's the hottest year ever. It's the hottest year ever. It's the hottest year. No.
It's not.
It's not.
Shoot, I remember, what was it, a few years ago, we didn't even hit 80 degrees in Michigan.
90.
Was it 90 degrees?
90 degrees. We had 0 90-degree days,
Maybe
which for farmers is a problem because they have heat units. If you're going to grow corn,
I remember
wheat and beans. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I remember because in northern Michigan, we have a home too. And I remember that year it was just particularly cold. The water never warmed up.
Yeah.
And I don't think, for whatever reason, I think it never hit very, in that 80-degree span, even up there.
Yeah.
And you said 90s, and I understand that down a little bit further south. But, people don't remember that stuff.
Yeah, well, they also don't remember one of the first full winters you were here, 2013. It was cold. We had a cool thing. We had a snowdrift in our driveway. Mm-hmm. That I went and built a fort for the kids, and I thought, well, it'll be there for a couple of days. It was there for 6 weeks because it was the third coldest winter on record in Michigan was 2013-14,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
That's just an anomaly. I mean, this whole thing about climate change is doing this. Stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing is that you point out there that I still think is interesting, extreme heat events are lower, extreme cold events were moderate.
That's right. And weather is cyclical. And what was the country was it Greenland or Iceland that they found the farming community?
Greenland.
Yeah, so tell that story quickly.
Yeah, so these were caribou hunters out probably 20 years ago now, and they discovered these timbers sticking out because the ice and snow had receded, right? So climate change. What they found was a complete livestock operation that had operated between about the year 800 AD to about 1300 AD because there was a warming period there. They were farming on Greenland, raising livestock, raising families, and then by about 1300, the cold moved back in, the ice and snow came back down.
That's
and
right.
as you said, Ivy, these things are cyclical. So I'm going to go ahead today again. I'm going to go ahead today and not panic. Okay?
That's a good plan, Steve. Panicking, you never win.
Yeah, I'm not going to panic. We'll talk about One Nation when you come back, Ivy. Love you.
I love you.
All right, quick break. We'll be right back. All right, back to it now. I want to focus a little bit more on this study as I bring in my next guest. Again, this study, a 2026 peer-reviewed study, 40 million daily temperature observations between 1899 and 2025. 40 million. More than 1,200 weather stations. The worst heat, climate change, global warming, 1930s. Extreme cold has declined. Its overall temperature volatility has decreased, not increased, which brings me to my next guest and the endangerment finding. James Taylor is the president of the Heartland Institute. James, good morning. Nice to have you back on the program.
Hey, great to be here, Steve.
Your timing is perfect because we're talking about this new study that came out that says the climate change it's just all BS. But bureaucrats are still sabotaging the Trump EPA's repeal of the endangerment finding, basically saying that carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases threaten public health and welfare. We're all going to die. James, I'm here to tell you, I got good news. We're not all going to die from climate change, so there we can breathe easier. But I mean, this study lays it out quite clearly. 40 million data points. It's not just some little glance at a few stats. It's 40 million over more than a century. And yet, you've got the bureaucrats, the politicians, the globalists still pushing this climate change nonsense. It's exhausting, isn't it?
Right. And regarding the study, that's just confirmation of what we've known for quite some time. And that is that the warming that is occurring, which has been occurring for quite some time, since long before coal-fired power plants and SUVs, that it's occurring primarily at night, in winter, and closer to the poles. That's exactly how you make Earth a more livable planet for humans and for most species. Regarding the lawsuit, basically you have Boulder City and County in Colorado that's attempting to force policy change at the national level by virtue of a civil lawsuit. They're saying we can sue the energy companies for what we say are all these harms of global warming, even though there are no harms, very little, and much more benefits. But this is something that has already been and is in the domain of Congress. So the Department of Justice is here in this suit, but rather than saying this is the domain of Congress, so you don't have a right to sue and recover damages, they're saying this is the domain of EPA. And that's a big problem because the most important thing that the Trump administration is doing and has done is regarding environmental issues, and really almost regarding any issue, is that they have repealed the endangerment finding, which was a finding by the Obama EPA that carbon dioxide endangers human health and welfare and therefore must be regulated and restricted by EPA. By arguing in the Supreme Court that EPA has primary authority to regulate and restrict carbon dioxide emissions, the Department of Justice is undermining the EPA's very argument, which is a solid argument, as for why EPA cannot, should not, and will not be reducing and restricting carbon dioxide emissions. This is a very big problem.
Yeah, look, James, I've said this a million times, and I'll say it again. In first grade, as I recall, carbon dioxide was referred to as the gas of life. That's what they called it, the gas of life, because it makes things grow. And what we get rid of, plants grow. And what they get rid of, we use. It's a wonderful relationship here that we have on Earth between the plants and the animals and the ecosystems and everything else. And to refer to CO2 as a pollutant is scientifically dishonest, isn't it?
Absolutely. There is a reason why horticulturists pump carbon dioxide into greenhouses.
Right.
It is to facilitate the growth of plants. In fact, we know that the ideal amount of carbon dioxide for plant growth is 1,200 parts per million. Yet we have the climate activists losing their minds because currently we're at only about a third of that. We're just over 400 parts per million. We could double and indeed triple the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and that would bring tremendous benefits for virtually all ecosystems on planet Earth, because ultimately, whether we're talking carnivores or herbivores, the food chain begins with plant life. And plant life is currently starved of CO2. It's kind of like if we were to go to the top of Mount Everest, where there's very little oxygen, and try to function well physically and mentally in such a low oxygen environment. It wouldn't happen. We'd be close to death. That's what plants are undergoing right now, because typically CO2 throughout the Earth's history is much higher than it is today. It's what plants are accustomed to. It's what plants need in order to thrive and survive.
And you make a great point, James. Plants are the foundational life on Earth that fuels everything else. The grass grows, the deer eats the grass, the person eats the deer, however you want to look at it. I mean, it runs through the whole cycle. And it's remarkable to me that adults, college-educated adults, are too ignorant to figure this out and keep selling this. Climate change, must have windmills and we must ride donkeys or whatever they think. It's bizarre to me that educated people buy this trash. Last word to you.
Much of it is because it's not really about climate change and it's not about the environment. It's about transferring money and power to government and taking away people's abilities to make decisions for themselves. We know for a fact that wind power and solar power are tremendously more expensive than conventional energy. We know that in virtually every other environmental issue, whether it's land conservation, direct species kills, water and soil pollution, wind and solar are much worse for the environment than conventional energy. But it's not about the environment. It's not about climate change. It's transferring money and power to government.
You got that right. James Taylor, always good to talk to you, my friend. We'll talk to you again soon. You come back anytime.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah. Common sense, it comes here pretty regularly, free of charge. So you can be the smartest person on the planet. 40 million data points. Climate change is not real. Not the way they're telling you, anyway. I'll take a break and be right back. All right, back to it now. You know, I don't want you to feel badly, but I want you to be aware. Ilhan Omar is apparently broke. She was worth $30 million a couple of months ago. Now she's just, it was an accounting error, apparently. That's what they're going with. Democratic Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar's latest financial disclosures show dramatically lower reported asset values than an earlier filing that listed millions of dollars in businesses connected to her husband. In a financial report meant to cover 2024, the Minnesota Democrat claimed that she and her husband controlled between $6 and $30 million in assets, figures that raised eyebrows as conservatives honed in on the allegations of Minneapolis Somali community fraud. In a recently filed 2025 report, Omar revised the value of her and her spouse's assets to, at most, $125,000. So they went from between $6 and $30 million to $125,000, taking the lower end estimate of Omar's assets as reported in the disclosure, just $20,000. Comparing it against both the low and high estimates of her debt, $30,000 and $100,000, would leave her with a negative net worth. She's broke. She went from being worth millions of dollars a year ago to being broke. It's an accounting error. Yeah. I'm sorry. If you believe that, I've got a daycare for sale in Minnesota. Don't need to see it. It makes lots of money. That part's probably true. For the first time since World War II, our national debt held by the public has exceeded GDP. America, this is a wake-up call. Sins of the past, like reckless government spending, have caught up to us. So what's next? Will it be higher inflation and higher prices, higher costs and living expenses, higher interest payments on the national debt? Maybe. Every dollar Washington spends on interest is a dollar it has to tax, borrow, or print. Small retirement planners prepare for potential setbacks, and they can do that by diversifying with a time-tested asset known for weathering the storm, physical gold. From my friends at Birch Gold, text the word America to the number 989898, and Birch Gold will send you a free information kit on converting an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA and physical gold. Don't pull the ripcord when you hit the ground. Get prepared now. Text America to the number 989898. Again, that's America to 989898. Own some gold from Birch Gold. This is Daybreak. So you're a homeless guy from Tibet, but you want to vote in America. In some places, that's legal. And to me, that's insane. Citizenship matters. Being an American matters. Being a member or a citizen of a state or a resident of a city or a township or a county, that should matter, but it doesn't to the Democrats. Illegal aliens voting. What do you think of that? How do you like that? Jack Tomczak is the Vice President of Outreach for Americans for Citizen Voting. He joins me now. Jack, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Los Angeles, now the latest enclave to propose non-citizens voting in local elections. I mean, why would you allow people who are not officially citizens to vote on the future of a city? I mean, how long do you have to be there? A day? A month? You're a homeless guy from Tibet? Honestly, seriously, what does it take?
Well, you nailed it. If you're a homeless guy from Tibet, you're not really a non-citizen. You're just not a citizen of this country.
Well, fair point.
Whenever we talk about non-citizen voting, and it is happening in 24 cities across the United States, in 4 states, including it's happening in Washington, D.C., non-citizens aren't really non-citizens. They're just citizens of a foreign country. And I don't think, and the organization I work for, Americans for Citizen Voting, don't think they should be voting in this country.
Is there any history in America from the founding 250 years ago through today, except for the last couple of years here, where non-citizens were allowed to vote? I mean, if you're here on vacation, do you get to vote? If you're just passing through because you're here for the World Cup, do you get to stop in and cast a ballot? Honestly.
So, yes. Prior to 1926, non-citizen voting was actually very common in local, state, and federal elections. That was back when the country was trying to attract settlers and states were trying to attract settlers. And typically the deal was, if you were planning on becoming a citizen, you could vote as soon as you had settled in, even if you weren't a citizen yet. But nowadays, that requirement doesn't exist. Like in Washington, D.C., all you have to do is live there for 30 days, and then you can vote in their municipal elections.
Well, how would you prove that? Because you don't need a driver's license to prove you live anywhere. You don't have to have ID. So I've been here for 30 days, 31 in fact. I've been here 31 days. I mean, there's no proof of residency, no proof of citizenship, no proof you have any right, even if you're a non-citizen, to vote. Right? And let me ask you this, Jack. Do other countries allow non-citizens to vote? Is this unique here, or does this actually happen other places?
It would be very difficult or impossible for you to go to some other country and cast a ballot, yes.
That just doesn't happen. So I'm sorry, I'm so jaded. So to me, when I look at, you mentioned Washington, D.C., New York, Los Angeles, funny how these are all big, deep blue places. Conservatives don't allow non-citizens to vote. Red states don't allow non-citizens to vote. The few big cities left in America that have Republicans that are mayor, they don't allow non-citizens to vote, do they?
They don't, and it's not there is a partisan difference, but it's only with politicians. In all the places that we've polled, and we've polled many, many states and the nation as a whole, support for only citizen voting is very high, and it's high regardless of party identification, regardless of ideology, gender, any way you can look at a person, any category. People don't support non-citizen voting.
Yeah.
Except for politicians. If you're a Democrat politician, apparently you do.
Yeah. How do we blunt this? Does there need to be? I mean, the Constitution obviously doesn't address this, because if it's not for the federal government, it's left to the states to decide, and the states allow it to happen in their state. It's just going to continue. And once you're voting, and let's just be crystal clear about this, Jack. Once you're voting in a municipal election for mayor of New York City, for example, and you're a non-citizen, and now it's time for the midterms, for the federal elections, for Congress, for president in 2028, whatever it is, you're going to vote again. Let's just be perfectly crystal clear and honest. You're going to vote again, aren't you?
You've done your homework. The U.S. Constitution does not address this. It is left to the states. And in Article 1, Section 2 and the 17th Amendment, the U.S. Constitution says when determining eligibility for congressional elections, it says that whomever a state lets vote for their state legislature, those same people are eligible to vote for members of Congress. So if a state were to allow, let's say California, since we're talking Los Angeles, If California were to let non-citizens vote for their state legislature, those non-citizens would also be eligible to vote for members of Congress in those elections. So this isn't something that that stays isolated to one state. If Los Angeles voters approve this non-citizen voting, I think it won't be that long before the state legislature allows non-citizen voting on the state level, and thus by doing so will legalize it for most federal elections. The presidency is a little different, but the state legislature does determine who can vote for president as well. That's why our organization is helping pass a constitutional amendment for the U.S. Constitution, House Joint Resolution 152, authored by Congresswoman Laurel Lee out of Florida.
Proving once again, by the way, Jack, not directly but conclusively, that the 17th Amendment is the worst amendment ever added to the United States Constitution, period, paragraph. Worst amendment, because it also took away the right of the state legislatures to put the senators in place. That's the way it was supposed to work. That's the way it always worked. Now it's direct election. It's no different than the House. The point of the United States, if the 17th Amendment were not there, we'd currently have 56, 58, maybe 60 Republican senators in Washington, and we'd have a lot of problems solved. We wouldn't have this nonsense with the filibuster. And now you tell me that California, if you vote for your state, your state House rep, and you're a non-citizen, and California says that's cool, now you can vote all the way up the federal ballot. I'm sorry. That will create revolt in the streets. I like your idea of a constitutional amendment, but it's a very high bar, Jack.
It is. You've got to get 2/3 majority in both bodies, and then it has to be ratified by 3/4 of the states. For our bill, we've done the math. If every Republican in Congress, in the House, votes for it, we need 70 Democrats to vote yes as well. Now, last year, the Washington, D.C. non-citizen voting law went to repeal that, went through Congress, and 56 Democrats voted the right way. And we need 70, so we're hoping we can get 14 more. But first, we got to get through Jim Jordan's Judiciary Committee and then get it on the floor. So if you happen to know Congressman Jim Jordan, give him a call and tell him we want a hearing for House Joint Resolution 152.
Jack, I appreciate the work you're doing. You come back anytime. This is important work. We need citizens voting. We need ID to vote. We need common sense in elections. Stop the games. Stop the power plays. Stop the dirty dealing. Stop it. Jack, thank you.
I appreciate you doing your homework, Steve. Well done.
Thank you, sir. He thinks I did it just before the show. It's just stuff that you're supposed to know. This is stuff you're supposed to know as an American citizen, how the Constitution works. Most members of Congress have probably never read the document, and that is sad. I'll take a break and be back. All right, good to have you here. We're having a nice Tuesday here on the program. Glad you're along for the conversation wherever you may be today. I hope it's a good day for you. John Newman is the former Los Angeles Times and USA Today White House correspondent and the author of Trump's Superpower, a historical novel about the founding fathers and one founding mother. John, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always fun with you.
Yeah. You have a message for Hillary Clinton, and you were in the mainstream media. Look, the mainstream media, from where I sit, leans a little bit left. I worked for NBC News at one time in my life. I think they lean a little bit left. But you do have a message for Hillary Clinton. I'd like you to go ahead and share that message for Hillary. Go ahead.
Hillary, shut up. Sit down. You lost. We, MAGA, won. America won. And I think that's what this 250th is all about. Trump is trying to resurrect patriotism. And the most stunning, and I mentioned Hillary because she blasted the UFC thing. She said it was a horrible display. She said things like, after we win back power, MAGA will have to be reprogrammed. So, but I think the reflecting pool, which you may have heard about, is really the perfect example of Trump asserting patriotism and the left trying to destroy it.
Yeah, I talked about that today, actually. What is wrong with somebody? There's a 300-foot slash in the liner. What is wrong with somebody? You deliberately go out and destroy a monument that sits between the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument, the reflecting pool. And they added some sort of chemicals. I'm going to guess they put in fertilizer so they could get the algae to bloom. They put crap in the water so algae would bloom. They slashed the liner. What is wrong with somebody, honestly?
Well, I think apparently the FBI found a treasure trove of heavy-duty chemicals that were being stockpiled in D.C. This is a very organized Antifa kind of operation. And what's interesting to me is that it's turning out to be another one of those 90-10 issues that we're winning. People are proud again. The Democrats are not. The polling suggests that they hate the country, but we already knew that. You know, I've been tracking the number of blue cities that are canceling 4th of July events, and it's just unbelievable to me. The mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, canceled a parade that's held in the foothills of the San Fernando Valley. It's been held every year for 50 years. And she said, we're canceling it, and suggested that the parade organizers do it on a different day.
Yeah, I just saw a poll that said only 29% of Democrats are proud to be Americans. I mean, have they seen the viral clips of all these soccer fans coming into the country absolutely going, we've been lied to about America.
Wonderful?
We love America. It's the greatest place ever. I never want to go home. And it makes me feel good because they're like, we've been lied to. Of course you have. And I want to go back to the UFC fight for a second here. Teddy Roosevelt had boxing matches on the lawn at the White House. He participated, by the way, on occasion because that's Teddy Roosevelt, a real American, a guy who believed in the vigorous life. And so having a UFC fight is nothing more than a modern display at a grander level that Teddy Roosevelt would have loved the UFC. He would have thought it was the greatest thing in the world, wouldn't he?
It was magnificent. And it was, you know, everyone says Trump is a showman, and he is. And it was a great show. It was just fantastic. The optics, the fervor, the joy. And that's what this holiday is about. You know, when I was a little girl, my father, who was the son of immigrants, he would go around and go up to people he didn't know and say happy birthday. And they would look at him oddly and he'd say, oh, it's not my birthday. And he said, oh, yes, it is. It's all of our birthday. And that's the joy of this day. I also saw, Steve, you'll love this. I saw a meme this morning that said, MAGA will be celebrating No Kings on the 4th of July, as we have every year for 250.
Exactly. Exactly. Here's a little trick. I see you're a PhD in history, right?
Correct.
So here's your quiz for the day. You've probably got this. I don't know who does. One president was born on the 4th of July. One.
I don't have that.
Ah, Mr. Gruber stumps the
You got
expert.
me.
Yeah. Calvin Coolidge.
Who is it?
Calvin Coolidge.
Okay.
Calvin Coolidge, born on the 4th of July.
I should have known it.
Yeah.
I would like to say, as a historian, that I applaud and support your call for the repeal of the 17th Amendment.
Oh, it's the worst.
It not just the practical effects, but it trashed the Constitution.
It did. The 17th Amendment is the worst amendment of the United States Constitution.
Yeah, I agree.
It absolutely came in 1913, for those of you keeping score at home. Same year we got the IRS, we got the 17th Amendment, so it was quite a year to, kick America in the knee. Anyhow, John, thank you for being here. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for playing trivia with Steve.
Thank you.
Greatly appreciate it.
I'll try to do better next time.
Yeah, you'll be back. Thank you very much. By the way, two presidents died on the 4th of July. The same day, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson died on the 4th of July. Yeah, 1821, I think. At any rate, there you have it. Trivia with Steve. Sports with Brock is next. All right, time for sports now with Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. A blockbuster trade in the NBA last night, according to media sources. The Milwaukee Bucks sent franchise greats Giannis Antetokounmpo and Bobby Portis to the Miami Heat for 4 players, along with a handful of future draft picks. Giannis and Portis led the Bucks to the NBA title back in 2021. Less than 3 months after leading Michigan to the national championship in college basketball, head coach Dusty May is leaving the Wolverines to become the head coach of the NBA's Dallas Mavericks. That's according to ESPN. May was 64-13 in 2 seasons at Michigan. Lead assistant Mike Boynton is expected to be named interim head coach. At the World Cup, there were 4 games yesterday. Winners were Argentina, France, Norway, and Algeria. In Major League Baseball, American League winners included Toronto, Detroit, and Texas. National League winners included Washington, Milwaukee, and the Los Angeles Dodgers. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock, thank you for that. Greatly appreciated, Brock. The thing I'm still torn up about. I'm tore up, Brock, because Dusty May is leaving the University of Michigan.
Yeah. The timing's not good, but...
What do you think that means for a college basketball program that just won the national championship? I mean, do they come back? Do they have a team? I mean, Dusty May, he a miracle worker. And here's something else. The football coach at Indiana, right?
Kurt Signetti.
He not leaving.
No.
Ever.
Well, don't say that.
Well, but he's not. I hate this. You get a national championship. Tom Izzo never left Michigan State. Some people think maybe he should
twice.
But he didn't.
That we know of.
Yeah. Anyhow, strange to me. It's too bad for Michigan fans like me to have to suffer through this terrible thing. Anyhow,
looks like the lead assistant Mike Boynton's going to take over on an interim basis. And I saw on X last night Trey McKinney, one of Michigan's top returning players. Yes, he is returning next year. He reaffirmed that last night.
Even after this announcement, I guess
yes.
That's good. And Giannis, I can't believe Giannis is leaving. I mean, he's been treated like a king in Milwaukee. But hey,
yep, it's run its course in Milwaukee. So
that's
he's going
the way it
to
goes.
Miami.
All right. Greatly appreciate you being here. Always send me emails, stevegruber.com. stevegruber.com. Send me emails. Tell me what's on your mind, America. This is Daybreak.
America's awake, and we're just getting started. The headlines that matter, the stories they won't tell you, and the voices fighting to be heard. This is your country, your morning, your daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. A new hour starts right now.
All right, and welcome to it as we kick off another brand new hour here, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom. Glad to have you on board on a beautiful Tuesday. Well, let me just put this where it belongs. Yeah, whoops, knocked the mic right out of the way. All right, three big things this hour. Number one, oil prices continue to plummet down to $73 a barrel, and yet gas prices stubborn. Why? Number two, a major win for the United States in the acquisition of rare earth minerals in the Congo. I'll tell you about that. And number three, big endorsement from the president here in Michigan last night. Donald Trump endorses John James in the run for governor. Eric Nesbitt, the Senate Minority Leader, drops out of the race immediately. But President Trump on Monday endorsed U.S. Congressman John James running for governor of Michigan. It is my great honor to endorse an American first Congressman John James, who's running to become the next governor of the beautiful state of Michigan. John James has my complete and total endorsement to be the next governor of Michigan. He will not let you down. The greatest president of my lifetime, said James on media posts. Right after Trump issued the endorsement, Eric Nesbitt dropped out. This campaign has always been about the people of Michigan and standing with President Trump to defeat the Democrats in November. Today, I am suspending my campaign and proudly joining President Trump in endorsing John James as Michigan's next governor, said Nesbitt. A divided primary only helps Democrats. It's time to unite. I'm asking every one of you who supported this campaign to stand with me behind John James, roll up our sleeves, and deliver a Republican victory in November. James responded on X with this: when President Trump endorsed this campaign, Eric Nesbitt did exactly what a true conservative in Michigan should do. He united behind the president and our mission to save Michigan from the libs and the rhinos destroying our republic. There you have it. We'll have more on that coming up in just a few minutes. Katie Hyde will join me from Michigan News Source. Had this story last night, of course. MichiganNewsSource.com, my news company, giving you the news from Michigan you need the most when you need it, right? All right, other major announcements. Apparently, Iran has made... Remember how the media was telling you, and they're all running around, the Iranians walked out on J.D. Vance, nothing happened. Well, that's not true at all. In fact, they met for the next 10 hours after the media was going crazy reporting that the Iranians had walked out on J.D. Vance. Didn't happen. In fact, here's what actually happened. Here's the major announcement from J.D. Vance. Listen.
This is probably what we're most excited about as Americans. The Iranians have agreed to invite IAEA inspectors back into their country. That is a major milestone for the American people and the first step in permanently denuclearizing or permanently ending a nuclear weapons program in Iran. And that's exactly what we wanted to do. That's exactly what we asked to happen.
All right, there you have it. Now, having said that, the Iranians have agreed to that in the past. We didn't get anywhere. They reneged on their deal. It's happened in the past. So I'm optimistic, cautiously optimistic, that this deal is moving forward. But do not get too excited yet. The Iranians have a 50-year history of lying, manipulating, playing the game, dragging their feet, stalling, all of these things. So before you get too excited about that, just be aware we're dealing with the Iranians and the regime in Tehran, which is historically dishonest. I think is a nice way to put it. Historically dishonest. All right? All right, let's move on to some happier stuff, shall we? I keep talking about this. I cannot get enough of this. I cannot get enough of the people coming into this country from South America, Central America, Africa, Asia, Europe, and saying, my God, we've been lied to about America. Of course you have. You're trusting a dishonest globalist media, which are in the pockets of dishonest globalists. But here's what one Brit found when he came to America. Listen up.
We owe America a huge apology because America is nothing like what the media tells us. Everyone is so friendly, everyone is so accommodating, and I've honestly had the best time. I fly home Sunday and the English have a song where we say, please don't take me home, I just don't want to go to work. let me stay here and drink all your beer. And I've never resonated with that song more than in America for this World Cup. I wish I could stay and finish the tournament watching England. So if anyone is out there that can help me make this happen, then please let me know. I want nothing more than to stay in the USA, finish the World Cup, and meet more fantastic Americans.
Dude, you can stay at my house. I got a guest room. I'll even buy you more beer. Apparently they want to stay and drink all the beer. Try to keep up with the Scots. Look, I don't know.
Let him try out the ghost bed.
Exactly. Well played, Anthony. He can try out the ghost bed. He'll be super happy.
That's
Not
a
only
nice
that,
job, Anthony.
got to sleep in a beautiful ghost bed. The best bed ever made. Ghostbed.com, promo code Gruber. Well done, Anthony. You'll save a tremendous amount of money on the ghost bed anyhow. It is what we sleep on, and we love it. It's American made. It's terrific. All right, so America's doing great. People come here, they love it. But what about Canada? You know, I thought Trudeau was a terrible prime minister, right? And Canada's always been our little brother, our friend, our cousin, whatever you want to call him, right? I've been to Canada too many times, remember. Love it. Hunting, fishing, traveling, you know, going to concerts, just loved it. But it's a mess, folks. And don't take my word for it. Ask the Canadians. Here's one.
Can somebody please tell me how we're still calling Canada a free country? Because I don't see much freedom happening. If you think about it, we can't access certain news channels. We can't pray. If we don't fill out our census, we get a fine. If somebody breaks into our house, we can't kill them. We can't even hurt them. We can't carry guns. We can't protect ourselves. We don't get to make the rules for our kids anymore. The government makes those rules. So your children who have been on social media for the last 5 years, 6 years, they're no longer allowed on social media because the government says so, not because the parents do. We don't get to decide what we put in our body. We have to get our vaccines. Even brand new babies coming into this world need to get vaccines. COVID vaccines that we all knew were a joke. We had to get those too. So why are we still calling Canada a free country? Doesn't seem very free to me.
Same country that arrested pastors for holding church during COVID. The same country that arrested truck drivers for having the nerve to protest COVID lockdowns and shutdowns. A country that now is enamored with MAID laws, medical assistance in dying. Over 100,000 people have been put to death in Canada, some of them because they were depressed. Legalized suicide in Canada. No life, respect. By the way, for those of you who want to keep race in the picture, 97% of the people that have been put to death in Canada are white. Put to death by the government, 97% of them are white people. Figure it out. Canada, what happened to Canada? And now they want to be part of the EU, according to Mark Carney. Good luck with that. We wish you well on your way into the pits of hell. Good luck. I'll take a break and be back. It is Daybreak. All right, welcome back to it. You know, we've been talking about all these impacts of climate change and so forth, and the irrational pushback against common sense. And what comes to mind for me in the irrational pushback to common sense is when a company comes along and says, look, we can make something better for everybody and make it safer and have long-term benefit. And those on the other side of the aisle just push back and say, well, we don't want to deal with that. Well, we don't want to deal with that. We don't want that. And I'm talking about the Line 5 tunnel replacement from Enbridge. Line 5 is an energy pipeline that's run under the Straits of Mackinac for decades. Never had an issue, I think, since 1953. And so Enbridge comes along and says, we'll build a tunnel so it'll be beneath the Straits of Mackinac. You'll never have to worry about it. It's never leaked, but you'll never have to worry about that. We'll have a tunnel. It's reinforced. It's an incredible engineering project, and they have been fought every step of the way. They're winning. They're persevering, but it takes time, and it takes focus. Ryan Duffy is a member of the Enbridge Communications team, joining me now. Ryan, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. It's good to see you.
You're in the middle of the permitting process still. It's been years, but you're getting there slowly but surely. You've won court cases. You've been able to take steps forward, but still, it's been a slow process, right?
Well, it's really been an extended permitting process for sure. I mean, that's still what we're in right now. It's gone on for 5 or 6 years now for sure. So right now we're actually in the public comment period for a permit on water use. And it's a permit that comes from Eagle. And this is another permit we actually already have had, but now we need to renew it because the permitting process here has gone on so long. So, you know, from the beginning of the whole process, we've been committed to responsibly using water and limiting the environmental impacts and really protecting the Great Lakes during this construction project. That's most important. Because we all know water is one of the state's most important natural assets, so protecting it's central to all this. So during construction, there will be some water temporarily drawn from the straits and used at different stages of the project, depending on what work is happening. So, for example, some water will be needed to support the excavation and the actual tunneling because water is used in the slurry process as the tunnel boring machine excavates through and brings rocks to the surface. Water is actually put out in front of the boring machine. And so then when the new tunnel is in place down the road, we also use water to fill up that replacement or that new section of pipeline and to pressure test that new segment before it's used. So we fill that all the way up with water. We bring it to pressure and test to confirm that it's functioning as it should before we put it into surface. So, you know, when you're talking about water, it does play a role really during and after the construction process for the tunnel project.
Right. So here's a question that comes to mind as you explain that, and I'm sure this is going to be a question from the other side as well. What happens to the water once you use it for construction, once you use it to pressure test the tunnel to make sure that it meets all the important specifications that it needs to meet? What happens to that water after the fact?
Yeah, so that's the key part of the process. So all the water is going to be treated through a really layered process and returned back to Lake Michigan only after it meets all the state water quality standards. So the goal really is take in the water, use it safely, treat it thoroughly, and then return it back. So we're actually going to build a whole entire water treatment facility at the construction site on the south side of the Straits, on the Mackinac City side. And that facility is going to manage all the water, and it's designed to make sure all the water treated and returned meets all the regulatory requirements. So all the water taken out of the lake, it's returned to the lake. It's really more or less recycling it. And Eagle has said previously, when we went through this process the first time, that this process and the discharge is not going to impact the water quality in Lake Michigan. So we believe strongly that is the case, and that's because we're going to be thoroughly treating all of that water.
Now, you've mentioned Eagle a couple of times in this permitting process, but that's not the only permit you need. I mean, there's a series of permits, federal and state permits, correct?
Right. This water permit's just one we're renewing. We're actually renewing another Eagle permit looking at environmental impacts. So we could potentially have a decision on that one actually in the next few weeks. And then, as you know, Army Corps is completing its work for its permit on the federal side, and it said it's looking to have a decision this summer too, possibly. So really over the next few months, we could be seeing the finish line on these permits, and we could have a lot more certainty as far as permitting. But for all these permits, as we've talked about, there's been a huge amount of research, expert input, public input. It's all been very thorough. It's gone on for years now, and has really been intense. And we think that's a good thing. But the focus now of our tunnel team is very much at this point on the work of being ready to go and being prepared for the day that permitting is finally all going to be wrapped up.
Yeah, I look forward to that day. I'm sure you look forward to that day, Ryan. Last thing, St. Ignace had its annual car show downtown this week. A busy week in St. Ignace there on the other side of the straits, on the other side of the bridge. A good chance to find out about the pipeline and the tunnel, isn't it?
Yeah, it's always a busy week there for the car show in town. So starting on Thursday, we want to invite everybody in town to come on by the Great Lakes Tunnel Project Information Center there in downtown St. Ignace. That's at 214 North State Street. And the Information Center is where you can find out anything you ever wanted to know about the project. We have displays on how we're going to build it. There's a model of the tunnel boring machine there. There's rock samples from all the research that has gone into it. And we have our team there, our staff, to answer any questions you have. So, yeah, please stop in. It's free, open regular business hours during the week, 10 to 4 on Saturday.
There you go. Ryan Duffy, always good talking to you, and thank you for the update as always. We'll check back here in not too distant future. Again, as you keep us informed every step of the way, we appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
All right. Happy to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, to me, it's here's this company building a $500 million. Well, it's $500 million to start with. The cost has gone up because of all the delays and so forth. But here it is, a state-of-the-art tunnel project. Here are the keys. Michigan, you can own this. And people fight against it? I've never understood that. I tip my hat to Enbridge for staying the course. I'll be right back. You hear a lot about rare earth minerals, right? You do, because they're in your phone, your computer, they're in all sorts of high-tech equipment, military equipment. And we just got a big win, a huge win, and puts America in a better position than China for once. Major win for the Trump administration against Chinese domination of the rare earth minerals on this planet. The United States has supported an American company, Virtus Minerals, in developing two major mines producing cobalt and copper in the Democratic Republic of the Congo in Central Africa. Claimed to be the first U.S. rare earth minerals acquisition in the African nation since Donald Trump took the presidency, and made an accord announcement in December. He announced an accord with the DRC. Historically, China has been the heavy lifter of these metals. The Strategic Studies Institute reported that 80% of the world's cobalt is produced in the Congo. 80%. 80% of that is controlled by China. Cobalt used in a wide range of applications like I was talking about, but it's also in electric cars, mobile phones, military jets. It's on the American government's list of critical minerals. Copper, also on the list, has traditional uses like piping, plumbing, and also needed in electronics, and, of course, the automotive industry. So this is a big deal. During December's signing at the White House, Trump made clear the administration's fight to curb Chinese domination of minerals and help American mining companies make a major impact in the DRC. A great day for Africa, a great day for the world, he said. The accord also aims to bring an end to fighting between the DRC and Rwandan-backed forces. It's one of the wars that Donald Trump intervened in to pump the brakes, if you will. American mining company Virtus is, with U.S. support, claiming to be the first U.S.-owned operator back in the DRC in more than a decade. And so they're back. They plan to produce 75,000 metric tons of copper, 20,000 metric tons of cobalt per year. And the processing plants are currently under development, will come online next year. This is all good news for America. And America first, a place I like to be. I'll take a break. I'll be back with Katie Hyde, that big announcement in the race for governor in Michigan. We'll discuss it after the break. All right, major announcement in the race for governor in Michigan. I told you about it just a short while ago. John James gets the endorsement, the coveted endorsement from President Donald Trump. Katie Hyde covering the story from Michigan News Source, where she is the news director. Katie, good morning.
Good morning.
It's a big announcement. Look, we know that when Donald Trump endorses in a primary, his success rate in 2026 is somewhere in the high 90s. You get the endorsement, you tend to win. Not always. And I saw one of the candidates drop out, but the rest of the field is there. What do you know?
It certainly is not a guarantee, like you said, but it is a shot in the arm for Congressman John James running for governor. So what we found out last night is that he did receive the Trump endorsement. President Donald Trump took to Truth Social and called James a highly respected congressman with what he said is a track record to deliver results for Michiganders. And so a huge boost to the James campaign. And within a little bit of time after that announcement, State Senate Minority Leader Eric Nesbitt, the fourth candidate in the race, announced that he was dropping out of the gubernatorial race and he was throwing his support behind John James. What that leaves is you have three GOP candidates in the gubernatorial race. Now you have James, you have former Attorney General Mike Cox, and where are my notes here? Businessman Perry Johnson.
That's right.
It's been a long night, Steve. So we have those three, and recently in a poll, it showed that those three were in a statistical dead heat. So it will be interesting as we move forward to the August 4th primary. Absentee ballots go out within a couple of days. It will be interesting to see how all of this shakes up.
Yeah, we just saw some polling, and in fact, you were right. John James, the last poll I saw was from MERS News here in Michigan, and John James was in first place, but Mike Cox was a close second and Perry Johnson a close third. They're all kind of bunched together. So Perry Johnson, as we know, has plenty of money to spend, and he has been peppering social media, the airways, wherever he can. Mike Cox has not spent very much money. He's got a good war chest. But John James, I'm going to guess, probably sees a financial windfall from this as well, because as these endorsements go, money often follows, correct?
It absolutely does. So he has the name recognition. He has the war chest that might come, as you mentioned. And so moving forward, it really is anybody's game at this point. When you have Perry Johnson, who's spending his own money, you could argue that he has the Trump effect there, where Trump spent his own money, and obviously he's in the White House. So it will be interesting how that plays out. If you look at the Democratic side of the ticket, I find it quite interesting. You have two candidates there, Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson and then Genesee County Sheriff Chris Swanson. Last week, Benson received the endorsement of the UAW, a huge endorsement. No surprise that the UAW goes Democratic. But then over the weekend, the Teamsters backed Chris Swanson. So he has promoted himself as a fighter for the people and a friend of the rank and file. So that will be interesting to see how all of that shakes out. Jocelyn Benson definitely has the name recognition, but these endorsements can drive public opinion.
They certainly can. They certainly can. And you mentioned August 4th, the primary. We're one of the last primaries. I know that there's been conversations in Michigan to move the primary up because, man, August 4th, you're only a couple of months out, 90 days out from the general election.
It's a quick turnaround.
Pretty tight, and so if you have somebody running in a primary unopposed, then they can sail through and keep all their money, while if there's a contested primary, Republicans or Democrats, they drain their resources trying to get the top of that heap and then start over again. I think Michigan would be well served to have an earlier primary, don't you?
I think so, because we're moving along here in summer too. You think about where your headspace is at in the summer, Steve.
Yeah.
It's on the lake, right? It's vacationing with family, and then all of a sudden, ooh, here's an election, and we're shifting towards fall. And so the sooner you can get the candidates in front of the voters, I think it's always a good thing.
I agree with that.
So it'll be interesting.
You've got all the other states. Michigan, one of the last. I don't know if we are dead last is when our primary date is, but we run very late compared to the rest of the country, and I don't think that helps us. I don't think it helps
Right. We're behind on a lot of stuff, Steve.
You noticed
far
that.
Too short a segment for me to get into all of it. But
yeah, we're behind in a few areas. We're behind on migration, people leaving the state, and, to me, I think that we've not had a great decade. I just say that. We've fallen in education. We've fallen in income. The number of people living here has decreased in the last decade. I certainly hope whoever wins in the midterms can turn this state around. I mean, look, when we're behind Mississippi in education, it's not a proud day for me, Katie. Not a proud day.
No, and people have said that we deserve more moving forward than what we've gotten from the Whitmer administration. And so people have said, are we going to get more of the same with Jocelyn Benson? Do we need to shift gears from what we've seen from the Whitmer administration? And some are arguing yes. So whoever that candidate is, coming out of August 4th.
I agree, but here's an interesting fact that I learned yesterday. I'm going to share with the folks. The state of Illinois' annual budget, the state of Illinois, much larger than Michigan, right? $56 billion. Ours is what, $83 billion? The state of Michigan budget is larger than Georgia, similar size state, North Carolina, similar size state, Pennsylvania, a bigger state. Our budget is $30 billion bigger than all of those. It's $30 billion bigger than Illinois. Where does our money go, Katie?
That is a great question. I was writing a check for my quarterly taxes the other day and gritting my teeth with every loop of the pen. But when Whitmer came into office, elected in 2018, gets into office in 2019, it was around the mid-50s was the budget for our state. And now it's, like you said, in the mid-80s. It is just too much money. We are taxed to death in this state. And I think people are feeling it. You look at local proposals, local school elections, people are voting no because they're just tired of it. And so it would really benefit Michigan for someone to get into office who would help give us a break when it comes to taxes, give us a break when it comes to starting a business, making things easier. We have Whitmer, who traveled to Europe last week. We don't have an education budget yet, and she's trying to drum up business there, but we have people wanting to start small businesses in this state who are jumping through hoops to try and get something started with no help from the state. So we definitely need to see some turnaround when it comes to helping the people here, making life easier for Michiganders.
Yeah, I agree. Well said, Katie Hyde. You can find Katie's work and that of the entire Michigan News Source team at MichiganNewsSource.com, MichiganNewsSource.com. Katie, I appreciate it. Good talking to you.
Yes, you too.
Thank you very much. And all right, so we'll see how this, I really am curious as to how the polling will be impacted by Donald Trump's endorsement of John James. Will it change the numbers in the Republican primary? It might. Like she said, they're all running bunched up together. And so we'll see what happens next. And those polling numbers we'll share with you as soon as we have them here. Remember, you can always send me an email at stevegruber.com. Always want to hear from you folks. So what do you think? Is it going to shake up the race in Michigan? Is it going to put John James, the two-term congressman, in, the pole position to win this thing? It might, but it's not a guarantee. Not a guarantee. You know what is a guarantee? The guarantee is that Ivy's going to put a smile on my face and yours right after this.
back at Dodger Stadium.
All right, back to it now. It has been a, Father's Day was fine, but I nearly suffered 3 aneurysms. Ivy's with me. She knows it's true.
Good morning.
Good morning. My stress level was off the charts. The reason being is we're finishing One Nation, a song that we're going to release on Friday this week internationally, be on iTunes. With Steve Gruber and the Freedom Project, which includes Laura Kokenauer, a musical genius, Ivy, with her incredible voice, a whole group of other people singing in the choir, and so getting through the process of mastering this track has been a learning process. Is that fair?
Oh yes.
And there's on your screen you can see the cover art, the album art.
We were heading into the unknown, Steve, and it's been a challenging but yet very rewarding process.
It has been.
And yes, sometimes when you go through these things, you hit roadblocks, and I just simply had to say, Steve, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And then you believed me, and now we are back on track. So
we are
everything
back
is
on
good.
track. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love the artwork, by the way.
Who's playing those drums? I see a drum kit there.
Yeah, that'd be me, Anthony.
What?
He has the drumsticks in his hand there if you review the
way.
picture.
The way it plays out, Laura Kokenauer, and I say musical genius, and we've gotten to know her over the last couple of years. I think she can play just about anything, including the drums, but I mean, she's masterful at guitar. She's masterful at the piano.
Great vocalist.
Great vocalist. And so
She's
it's
the
been a lot of fun.
Lead vocalist in the song. Just amazing talent.
Yeah, so that
Can't
song.
wait for all of you to hear it, and we'll start promoting this probably Wednesday, Thursday. So keep your eyes
That's
peeled.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's tomorrow, and then it releases on iTunes internationally on Friday, and it's being backed by Real America's Music. It's been picked up as their 4th of July anthem.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that says a lot about the song. And a few people have heard a sneak preview, but nobody has heard the final. Well, 2 people have heard the final mix, or 3, but not many.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a few new things in there, a couple new twists. Anyhow, it has been a learning experience. I'll give you that, Ivy. But I'll download it on Friday if you will. So we'll sell at least 2 copies. So I promise you that.
Praise God for that.
Yeah. What else is on your mind?
So, Steve, I caught this video, and Anthony, you can play that B-roll for me. Here is a Yankees fan, and the Dodgers outfielder catches the ball, and the Yankee fan holds onto his glove, pulls the ball out, and the other guy hangs onto his other arm so he can't get the ball. What is your take on this? Is this just funny, or is it poor sportsmanship? What do you think?
I think the runner is out, number one, because he had the ball forcibly removed from his glove. Look, everybody hates the Yankees, except Yankees fans. And Brock, is that legal? Is Brock there? Let's get a sports expert to weigh in.
Yeah, what? Well, I'm no expert, but anyway.
So the guy caught the outfield pop fly, just came over the wall, and one of the New York Yankees fans
rips the ball out of his glove.
Rips the ball out,
Holds
grabs
onto
his
the guy.
glove, rips the ball out, and the other guy next to him holds onto his other arm so he can't bring the glove back down. What's your take on
Yeah, they're
it?
holding on to the outfielder. They've got both hands. They take the
I think
ball
this
away
is
from
poor
him.
sportsmanship and shows that sometimes.
After the outfielder grabbed the ball, the Yankee fan pulled the glove with the ball in it out.
Correct.
And, stole it. Well,
Correct.
There's, I don't know how you rule on that if you're an umpire.
Right,
It took several seconds. It was not an immediate theft. I mean, this guy's fighting for the ball. Another fan's hanging onto his other arm. I mean, they accosted the poor gentleman. Yeah.
This to me is
I would think it would be an out.
Yeah, I would think it'd be an out.
It's an out. I think I'm calling the runner out. Yeah.
Yeah, I would call the batter out in that situation. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
There's a lot of places in baseball where the players and fans are, pretty close together. Pretty much every ballpark. So
Interactive.
I'm surprised it doesn't happen more. Honestly.
Yeah, interactive baseball. Ivy, I'm with you. I'm going to say it's poor sportsmanship. But on the other hand,
Might want to reconsider drinking so much during the game.
Exactly what I was going to say. They had a few beers. They're having a big time. You know.
Dude, I almost got the ball, man.
Yeah, well, and beers in New York and Los Angeles are pretty expensive.
Yeah.
There you go.
If you're going to pay $50 for a beer and have 6, you know, anyhow. I actually enjoyed that video, Ivy. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. So I'm going to run off some things here. You tell me if they're true.
All right.
Ever since President Trump shut down the USID, the DNC has become broke.
That's true. The DNC is broke.
The Peru's conservative leader won.
Well, hold on. I actually have a list here while we're on this.
Okay.
Since USAID was defunded, 7 elections, the winners have gone to the Trump-like candidate. Chile, Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, Honduras, Colombia, and our favorite little country down there, Costa Rica.
There you go.
So you have the same list.
I have the same list. South America is becoming more conservative all the time.
Yep.
And so as of April 2026, the RNC has raised $123.9 million, and the DNC is running in the red, negative.
Yeah, they're broke.
3.1 million.
Which is interesting because you look at the polling, the Democrats should be raking in the money, but they're not because you got these weirdos.
Isn't that a telltale sign, though, of really what's happening in the country?
Well, you've got these
you have
weirdos.
A lot of mouthpieces out there yelling about, oh, this, that, and the other in terms of on the media or on social media platforms. But when money talks, tells a different story, doesn't it?
Well, it does. And look, who's going to put, if you live in Michigan, sometimes you might support a candidate from another state. Are you going to send money to Graham Plattner in Maine for him and his Nazi tattoo?
No.
Are you going to send money to James Tallarico, who says there are 6 genders, but he's a pastor? I mean,
no.
Who's sending money to these people? And are people going to send money to Michigan to Abdul El Sayed, who's openly anti-Semitic and didn't want to talk about the death of Iran's supreme leader because people might get their feelings hurt? The same answer is no.
Yeah, I think you got to sign this as something along the lines of, excuse me, because my personality might hurt your feelings.
Yeah, my personality might hurt your feelings. Too bad. Yeah. I don't hurt your feelings.
No.
All right, love you.
Love you.
Final thoughts after this. All right, I want to know how you feel about this. Anthony, you can weigh in. I want to know how you feel about this.
Okay.
This was posted on Truth Social. On July 4th at the Lincoln Memorial and Washington Monument in beautiful and safe Washington, D.C., we're going to host the most spectacular Trump rally of them all, a tribute to America. President Trump put that out yesterday. What do you think about a Trump rally on the 4th of July? Is that American or is that Trump?
That's a good question. Yeah, I would say it could maybe be more, maybe Trump rally, not on the 4th is not the time for the Trump rally.
That's kind of how I felt.
I respect it, and I'm sure it's going to be very patriotic.
I'm sure of it, but it'll also be about Trump.
Yeah.
It also says, starting at 7 p.m., this huge celebration will honor our country's people, spirit, strength, resolve, and triumphs. More than 300 members of our strong and talented military bands, orchestras, and ceremonial units will perform patriotic melodies and American classics. And my playlist, the largest fireworks show in history. See you on July 4th in Washington, D.C. That's what he put out there. And I kind of felt the same way. I don't mind that he's holding some, a patriotic rally, but a Trump rally, who knows? I don't remember what happened on the 4th of July, 1976. Gerald Ford was president, and we were all bored with that. But I do remember going to the 4th of July parades in America and Democrats and Republicans and independents waving flags and celebrating America. None of this crap. Oh, America's terrible. Yeah, tell the soccer fans from all over the world how bad America is. America sucks. No. America's the greatest country on the planet, and everybody that comes here goes, oh, my God, I've been lied to. Yes, you have. Now get back in Buc-ee's and buy more beaver chunks or whatever they call them. At any rate, God bless America. Remember, only you can save America. God bless America. Fight for it. Believe in it. It's daybreak. And remember, only you can save it. It starts with you. Only you can save America.